Today you open an app, scroll through profiles, swipe left and right 100 times, and if you're lucky, after a week of awkward texting, you go on a first date at some coffee shop. And somehow you still end up alone on a Friday night. 40,000 years ago, people had none of that. No phones, no restaurants, no first messages, no relationship coaches on YouTube. Just a spear, a fire, and 30 people sitting around it. And somehow they fell in love, built families, and had children. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. So what exactly changed? And what, despite everything, stayed exactly the same? Let's start with something that sounds almost absurd by modern standards. Today, you live in a city of 1 million people and still can't find anyone. Our ancestors lived in groups of 20 to 50 people. That was their entire social universe. Everyone knew each other from birth. There were no strangers, no swiping through options. The pool of potential partners was literally the people walking beside you every single day. Now compare that to Tinder, which shows you hundreds of profiles daily. Psychologist Barry Schwartz called this the paradox of choice. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to choose and the less satisfied you feel with whatever you pick. He proved it experimentally back in 2004. Since then, the number of options in dating apps has only multiplied. Here's the paradox. Ancient humans had far fewer choices and may have suffered far less from loneliness because of it. Today, attracting someone means picking the right photos, writing a clever bio, buying the right clothes, hitting the gym. The image comes first, the person comes second. In ancient tribes, none of that worked. You couldn't hide behind a curated profile. People saw you every single day. How you handled stress, whether you shared food after a hunt, whether you panicked in danger, whether you could calm a crying child. And here's what surprises researchers most. Humor and storytelling consistently outranked physical strength as attractive traits. A famous study of the Agta people in the Philippines found that skilled storytellers were among the most sought-after mates in their communities, and actually tended to have more children than others. Not the strongest, not the best-looking, the storytellers. The ability to make people laugh around a fire may have literally shaped human evolution. And that instinct never went away. It just moved platforms. Funny people build millions of followers on TikTok. Charismatic speakers become influencers. The brain still responds the same way to, this person knows how to hold a room. It's just a screen now instead of a campfire. In a small tribe, reputation was the only currency. No money, no car, no brand. You were judged entirely by your actions. Who shared meat after a hunt? Who didn't abandon an injured companion? Who kept quiet and steady during a long migration without complaining? Today, we have Instagram, LinkedIn, and app ratings. On the surface, it looks like the same system, just digitized. But there's a critical difference. Ancient people saw you in real situations. Apps show only what you choose to show. We learned to manage our image, and that created an entire industry. Dating coaches, professional Tinder photographers, courses on confident body language. A 2022 Stanford study found that roughly 30% of dating profiles contain deliberately misleading information about appearance or age. We didn't become more honest. We just learned to deceive at scale. There's a common assumption that in ancient times, especially for women, there was no real say in choosing a partner. That assumption is wrong. Among the Jew Huansi people of southern Africa, one of the most extensively studied hunter-gatherer groups, women regularly rejected men they didn't want. Separation was common and carried no social stigma. If a relationship stopped working, people simply moved on. Compare that to medieval Europe, where divorce was effectively banned by the church for centuries. In some sense, women's rights in relationships actually declined with the rise of civilization, and only began returning in the 20th century to something closer to what existed tens of thousands of years before. Today, nearly 1 in 2 marriages ends in divorce across much of the Western world. That number sounds alarming, but maybe it's simply a return to the human baseline. People aren't built for guaranteed lifelong pairing. They're built for relationships that last long enough to raise children. Here's where it gets genuinely interesting. A human baby is one of the most helpless newborns in the entire animal kingdom. A foal stands within an hour of birth. A human infant can't hold its own head up for months. Full independence takes over a decade. That is an enormous biological investment. And nature solved the problem elegantly. It built an attachment mechanism directly into us. What we call love is, in part, biochemistry. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. a cocktail designed to keep two people close, long enough for a child to survive. The intense phase of romantic love lasts roughly 18 to 36 months on average. That's not a coincidence. It roughly matches the most vulnerable window of early childhood. Today, we've romanticized love to an almost impossible degree. Movies and songs tell us real love means forever, unconditionally, without effort. But the brain is programmed differently. It gives you a window. What you build inside that window, that part is up to you. One of the most underappreciated facts about humans is that we never raised children alone. Anthropologists sometimes call us the ape that needs a village. In ancient groups, children were raised collectively. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, cousins, everyone contributed. This is actually thought to explain one of the strangest biological phenomena in the animal kingdom, female menopause. It's almost unique to humans. Evolutionary biologists call it the grandmother hypothesis. Grandmothers who stopped reproducing became so valuable in raising grandchildren that living longer past their own reproductive years increased the survival of the entire group. Now look at what modern life looks like. A young mother in a city is often completely alone with a newborn. Partner at work, parents in another city, neighbors, strangers. The World Health Organization has documented a sharp rise in postpartum depression in recent decades, and researchers increasingly link it to the collapse of traditional support networks. We dismantled the village, and then we wondered why parenthood felt so impossible. Beauty standards have always shifted, but some things have remained remarkably stable. Health, confidence, and energy worked then. They work now. Smell, too. And more than most people realize. Studies show that humans subconsciously prefer the scent of people whose immune systems differ from their own. This raises the odds of producing healthier offspring. Your nose was helping you choose partners long before you figured out what to write in an opening message. What has changed is speed. In ancient life, attraction developed over months of real daily observation. Now we make snap judgments in seconds looking at a photo. The brain uses the same ancient evaluation system, but on completely different input. No wonder people who look perfect online so often feel like strangers in person. Picture a prehistoric night, a fire burning, total darkness beyond it. No phones, no electricity, just voices, laughter, crackling flames, and a sky packed with stars. Anthropologists believe fire fundamentally changed human relationships. Before it, the night was dangerous, and people stayed silent and hidden. Fire brought safety, and with safety came time. People started talking. Stories emerged, music emerged, flirting emerged. Romance, in a very real sense, evolved beside campfires. 40,000 years later, the campfire became a screen. The tribe became a contacts list. Reputation moved to social media. Laughter moved to voice messages and memes. But at 3 in the morning, when you're lying there staring at the ceiling, wondering whether to send the first message, you're doing exactly what a person did beside that ancient fire. Waiting, hoping, afraid of being rejected. Technology changed the shape of everything. The human inside it, not so much. Archaeologists have found ancient burials where people were laid to rest holding each other. In some graves tens of thousands of years old, traces of flowers were found placed beside the bodies. Someone stopped. Someone couldn't just walk away. Everything you feel, they felt it too. Love, loss, hope, the fear of being alone. That's not weakness. That's the oldest code running inside you, and it still works.